Welcome to Diabetes Nutrition class. Today is going to be more about diabetes. Every other week I alternate with more about food. Today is going to be more about diabetes. And I'm with Ambler Nutrition. So if you want to go to my website, you can find all my contact information there. And yes, I do more personal, find out what your diet is and how we can make tweaks so that we can improve your diet, improve your health, improve your diabetes, improve pain, attitude. I'm all about feeling good and having good food and having a good time. So I am sad that this is until January or so. I might do a couple classes on Zoom in December. We'll have to see how Mary Angela has everything. I have, my diabetes, what do you call this? Conversation map. And again, it's supposed to be on the table, it's supposed to be a personal conversation, but with COVID, it's like a fishing line. we have to be careful about that. So let's just get started. Actually, can I ask, is there any questions that anybody has about diabetes in general that, you've heard something or anything like that? Because you all know this stuff. No diabetes questions. There was a recall on metformin, but only one particular place that makes it. So if you're feeling funny or you're not sure, talk to your pharmacy and they'll be able to tell you whether or not your metformin was recalled. And what else? Ribelsis is a pill that works as Ozempic. So if you're on Ozempic, which you take an injection once a month, you can take this Ribelsis pill. That's a new medication that's out. And I did not bring my medication. So we're not going to go over a lot about medications, but they no, you pick it up at the farm. You go to the doctor, you get the pharmacy, you do it yourself. It's just like a regular. Yep. No, this is Ozempic, and Ribelsis is the pill of Ozempic. Hallelujah. and honestly, I think with Ribelsis, you have to take it more than once a week. Ozempic you take once a week, but the Ribelsis you take it every day. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you got that. That's really great, and it works the same as Ozempic, right? That's right. Yeah, with the Ribelsis, you had $10 a month for the first year. Yep. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, we don't need to know what she needs to take. It's on recording. But everybody's taking a little bit of different medicine and everything, and we're getting into that. But just so you know, this class is recorded and it's on the website starting on Thursday. And then next Thursday, well, I don't know, they might keep it on because who knows. Oh, you have to work your way up. Yep. And even with metformin, a lot of times you have to work your way up. You can't go to 2,000 milligrams, bam, you're just going to have GI problems. So, but again, about the medicines with diabetes, if you can, there's always ways that we can make your pancreas healthier so you don't need as much medicine. I have a few amazing patients who have been able to reverse pre-diabetes and the beginning of diabetes. One guy had it for about 5 years, but he was really doing all kinds of things wrong. So when we got on track, he really did well. And oh, he was in our cooking class. Remember, he lost his voice, big guy. He was something. Anyway, so we have the ABCs of diabetes. You guys remember what A is for? A1C. And do you remember what A1C is? Do you remember it's a frosting on your red blood cell? So what percentage of frosting would it be? If you have an A1C of 11, then your red blood cells are 11% frosted. That's quite a frosted flake. When they come out of your bones, the red blood cells, they last for 3 months and they float around in your sweet blood. They're like cornflakes. They don't have any sugar on them at all. Wheaties. And then over the course of the months, how frosted did it get? And if it's 5.5% or less, then you don't have diabetes. 5.7 to 6.5% is pre-diabetes, and 6.5% or more, that would be type 2 diabetes. A friend of mine, her daughter just went to the hospital with type 2 diabetes. She didn't know. And the way you can tell, type 1. So the way you can tell type 2 from type 1 is type 1 is actually an autoimmune disease where there's this, your body thinks that the B cells that make insulin are infection. So your body autoimmune, it eats itself. It's really very frustrating, but it's this antibody called GAD, a GAD. So if somebody is losing weight and they have diabetes and they're doing really bad, the doctors can check for this GAD antibody and see if they have actually type 1. And with type 1, you don't have any insulin at all. So that kind of means you're in complete control. One of my daughter's friends at school, he's type 1, he's an athlete. So he can have, before he does lacrosse or something, and before he goes on the field, he'll have like a huge handful of jelly beans or donuts, or not donuts, that's too greasy, but just like pure sugar, white bread, whatever it is. And then he takes a good dose of insulin, and he's able to control that much sugar getting into his cell that fast. Like our little pancreas, it would never be able to get enough insulin for that amount of sugar. So he can be like a superhero on the sports field. So everybody says, oh, diabetes, there's only minuses. No, there's some pluses with it too. So, and one thing they overall say, people who are managing their diabetes are way more healthier than the standard American person who doesn't have diabetes. So the fact that you're keeping in touch with these kind of things, yeah, you do have to worry about heart disease and strokes like regular Americans do too. But you know more about how your body works, and we're trying to get, it's just a good thing. So there's pluses and minuses. And honestly, now, like I said, with my one friend's daughter, she didn't know anything about diabetes. Now is a great time to jump in. We have so many different kinds of medicines. Our doctors know so much more now about all the different enzymes that your pancreas gives instead of just the insulin. So yay, diabetes. I know it's tough. Yeah. The blood sugar does not actually. So the question was about insulin coming from your pancreas and where else? And actually, blood sugar can come from 8 different places, but the insulin that puts that sugar into your cells only comes from the pancreas, that B cells, and that's only insulin. However, when you're exercising hard, your cells are able to open up this one, like when you get out of breath, there's this chute that the sugar can get into if you need it immediately, but you can't do it by just trotting on the treadmill. You actually have to get out of breath. I can't remember what that is called, but the fact that there is a way to get your sugar out of your bloodstream into your cells in an emergency situation when you're out of breath and running, like playing sports and these kind of things, giving yourself extra insulin, all that kind of crazy stuff. So that's the A's. Then we have the B's. Remember what B stands for? Blood sugar, blood pressure, those kind of things. And blood sugar. What is, when you're waking up in the morning, where do you want to see your blood sugar? From where to where? What kind of range? How about 80 and then 140? 120, you're beautiful. I did have a patient who thought it was 110. Oops, she thought it was 110. And she was calling me and she goes, oh my God, I'm up to like 112. I'm like, yeah, you can be 140 and still your body can handle that. But it's once you get over like 150, 160, if you're waking up and it's 170, we got to figure out what happened at night. Either you're not sleeping well, your body's stressed, you had a huge pasta dinner. They call that carb loading for sports. So yeah, you do not need to carb load unless you have a football game tomorrow morning or a marathon. Watch what you're eating in the evening. If we can have most of our calories for breakfast and lunch and have a lighter dinner, have a little snack before you go to bed, just in case your blood sugar is in the 70s or in the 80s, you want it to be around 100, 120. That would be nice to go to bed. Yeah, if your blood sugar is 80 or 75 and you're about to go to bed, that's not going to be good. Right. So A is A1C, B is blood sugar. Then there's also blood pressure. And they have, the last year they've changed it. So instead of being 130 over 80, they can set you 140 over 90. And it really doesn't matter if it's, you have that, or if you have 110 over 90, or if you have 140 over 70. It's the 140 and the 90. If you have any one of those in a combination, then they would like you to go on to the heart blood pressure medicines. Blood pressure medicines are affected by a lot of things. So talk to your doctor, make sure you're on the right one and you feel good if you're on blood pressure medicine. B, and then C. Oh, you know what? They have B for blood pressure here and they don't have blood sugar. So blood sugar, 180 to 140, that's good. After a meal, don't check your blood sugar. It's going to be like really high, 180, 200, something. You don't need to pay attention. It's 2 hours after you start the meal. We're pretty much in the United States and we eat in about 15 minutes. So whenever you have your meal is fine. But in France, they eat for like 2 hours. Yeah, that's when you start your meal. 2 hours later, you check it. So you don't want to have dessert 2 hours after you started a meal. Like if you did sit down for Thanksgiving and say you sat down at 1 o'clock and then you finished your meal at, I don't know, 1:45 or two or something, and then you waited until 3, so that's 2 hours after you started, and you had your cake, then that just keeps your blood sugar elevated for more than 2 hours. It's another 2 hours after that. So you're looking to have your blood sugar elevated for 4 hours. So the best thing, I know you're really full, but when you're having your Thanksgiving dinner, have all that you want. Try to get more of the vegetables, please, and less of the meat. And then have your pumpkin pie and all these kind of things right with your meal. And then, drink plenty of water. Don't drink wine until you've had some of your meal. Everything to just relax your body, because you're eating more food than normal. And you're going to have lots of left. We're all going to have so many leftovers, you guys. I don't know. Have you seen any turkeys that are under 20 pounds? Have you? I think we should look at see if we can get an 8-pounder. Okay, good. And I know Weaver's Way is doing parts. So if you just want the legs, or you just want the breast, or whatever. And I will tell you, the dark meat is going to have more zinc, and zinc and vitamin A together really help our cells resist viruses. So think about having. Yum, that's dark meat. That's great. That's great. The top of the wing, whatever moves around, it's really not the breast. So, so A, B, and then C is cholesterol. With cholesterol, they're finding if your LDL cholesterol is 99 or higher, or over 100 or higher, then it could be that you're in the beginnings of diabetes. And they're actually looking at that more than the A1C, because there's people who can have low blood sugar all the time, just the way they eat. But then they find out the pancreas really is having trouble because their LDL cholesterol is 99 or like over 100. So that's a new thing that's going on with that. So keeping your blood glucose on target, 80 to it's 140, not 130. And then after a meal, you want it to be around, it'd be great if it could be less than 180. 2 hours after a meal, it should be. Depends on what the meal is and what the last thing was. Grease really extends that. So if you have like a pesto with a lot of olive oil, instead of 2 hours, your blood sugar may not rise for another 3 hours and may not come down for 5 hours. So really look at the oils, try to not have very much. We used to think that, well, fat-free, we found out that was the problem. And then we found we do need lots of fat. People were eating whole avocados and all that kind of thing, and gaining weight and LDL cholesterol, whatever. So they find we just need 4 tablespoons. A bigger person needs 4, a smaller person might need 3. It's about a quarter cup of nuts. It's not very much oil. The teaspoon when you're doing the sauteing the vegetables, quarter cup of hummus, that kind of thing.
Oh, yes. I always hear about the olive oil being, that's a good oil to use.
On the cooking shows, you hear I'd use olive oil and use lots of it, but after they finish cooking the meal, they'll put a little shine on it. They say, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It just extends how long. The first place, when you eat something that has grease or oil in it, it goes into your bloodstream, and the first place it goes, the insulin receptors. So the insulin can't get in there and let the sugar in. So it just holds your blood sugar in your veins. It's the worst because we love oils. A little pocket. Now, even still, we're looking at a teaspoon. Again, it's 4 tablespoons a day. Your body can handle it, and the insulin can get in. It's when, it's really greasy. Pizza, where you fold it in half and you drain the oil off. Yeah, drain the oil off on the pizza. Yeah, the napkins and everything. That's right. They want your A1C to be below 7, but once you're 50 or 55, now they're saying there's no difference between 6.5 and 7.5. So we're not being so picky about getting you back down to say 6. The problems are the same, whether you're at 7.5 or 6.5. And to get your blood sugar down into 6, that can be restrictive eating. It can be excess medications. All of these things don't really help your health. And there's very few problems when you're at 7.5. So, if your doctor's giving you a hard time and you're at 6.9, tell them that your dietitian, your diabetes educator said it's fine until 7.5. But I don't know how to tell you that. What's on the American Diabetes Association, ADA, is not always what the research is showing. They're still showing meat for every single recipe. They're still, encouraging you eating a whole avocado. They're still telling you you can have vegetables and meat and just watch your carbs and watch out for your blood sugar. And we know that chicken and broccoli will raise your blood sugar just like a bagel and cream cheese. So we do have to watch out for that. It may not be as fast, but when you're looking at the, an hour and a half in, your blood sugar rises just the same. Yeah, they were talking like, oh, in the morning, just have eggs and spinach and bacon and stuff, and it'll be like secret eating your pancreas doesn't know, and that's been proven to be completely false. So, does anybody have a continuous glucose monitor? Isn't it okay? Because Freestyle Libre is having a program. You can wear it for free for 2 weeks if you qualify. And and they also said that with insurance, it can be anywhere from $10 to $75 a month. This has never been the case. It's always been $75 for the stickers and $75 for the reader. So you start out at like $150, and then every month you pay $75. So now they're doing it for free, but you have to qualify. Just if there's a bunch of different websites. I just Googled Freestyle Libre, and then all these things come up. I know Medicare's going more with the Dexcom. She's asking about Medicare with Freestyle Libre, and I believe Medicare only covers Dexcom. And I don't know and with Dexcom, you have to give yourself 4 injections of insulin. You have to have an A1C above 7, and there's something else. Oh, you see your doctor every 3 or 6 months, every 6 months. Type 1. Okay, with at the drugstore, she says that they say for the CGMs, you have to be type 1. That is incorrect. Maybe with your particular plan, but in general, Medicare will cover anybody who has diabetes, whether it's type 2 or type 1. But you're right, pre-diabetes, they don't cover it. And like I said, I just found out I'm in Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is a huge bunch of my patients. I see tons of people like that. I'm in network, but apparently with the federal program, you have to be preferred and in network. So this poor woman was seeing me, and we all thought we were covered. And then when the bill actually came through, they said, yes, you're in network, but you're not preferred. What is that about? So talk to right on the back of your card, the customer service, call them and find out what the deal is. But it's really tricky. But I like this program where they're doing the Freestyle Libre, a test trial, only 2 weeks, because in that 2 weeks, you can see what your lifestyle is like. And it's going to give you, 1 sticker is 2 weeks. So for every month, you would have 2 stickers. And anyway, so that's a promotion that's going on. And I'm all about knowing everybody's different, and to tell you, oh, your sugar is going to go up in 2 hours, it may not be the case. You might have a high blood sugar at 3 o'clock in the afternoon where you haven't eaten anything. It's just the way your rhythms are. Other people have it 3 o'clock in the morning. There's something with the afternoon, there's something with the morning. There's some people who only really have diabetes because their liver gives them too much. They have enough insulin, the liver gives them too much blood sugar. When you're sleeping, you don't eat, and how does our brain and our lungs get glucose while we're sleeping? It's through our liver. Our liver holds it. Anytime the liver sees that you have excess blood sugar, he holds on to it. And if it's too much for the liver to hold on to, they make fat, body fat. So anytime, whether you have diabetes or not, looking at what would cause your blood sugar to increase more, so that your liver would say, hey, all that excess sugar, I can save it in your fat. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So again, having more foods with less carbohydrates, and that ends up being whole grains. It ends up being the vegetables. It ends up being berries, even melons. There are a lot of water, that kind of thing. So, and remember, there's a lot of protein in the vegetables and the nuts and the beans and things like that. It doesn't always have to be, fish and chicken and beef and all that kind of thing. Okay, so we got blood glucose targets, high and low blood sugar. High blood sugar, we typically don't have any symptoms for. Here it says there's fatigue, blurred vision, thirst, headaches, frequent urination, and mood swings. This is an extreme situation where maybe you're starting out and you haven't had diabetes very long. But generally, there's the problem with diabetes is there's no symptom for high blood sugar. And low blood sugar, shakiness, sweats, it will be cold outside, and your skin will feel really sweaty. So it's your body's very uncomfortable, confusion, hunger, super thirst. That's gonna be low blood sugar. I think any you guys probably know what low blood sugar is, and it's difficult to come back from. And definitely a lot of my patients are really concerned about low blood sugar. They would rather ride at the 7.3, 7.5 than down at the 6.5, 6.0, because they just don't like being low blood sugar. I completely understand. But if there's a way that we can balance and have a little food in the morning, have a little food midday, have a little food in the evening, like 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. If you're eating dinner at 5 and you're not going to bed till 1 a.m., you might need something around 9 or 10, and something with some protein in it. I was talking to another patient, and he's like, oh yeah, I got to get my blood sugar up before I go to bed. So he had blueberries, he had a vanilla ice cream shake. It was supposed to be a protein shake, but he was like, well, this is a shake. It was very cute, but he was waking up at 170, 210, and we're like, why is it so high? Well, it couldn't be that blueberry shake I had last night. And so we talked about having more of a protein snack. So he's going to do something with hummus and cucumbers, or tuna fish and tomatoes, or whatever. Actually, no, he had kidney disease. He couldn't do tomatoes. But again, kidney disease. I don't know if you all have friends with kidney disease. These doctors are putting them on a completely restrictive diet to the point where they're not getting the nutrients they're having. They're having to be on supplements for iron, for calcium. I'm just trying to think, because they can't have milk or dairy products because of the phosphorus. They aren't getting vitamin B, B12, and all these things and from the seeds and nuts, because they have a lot of potassium in them. And then the sodium, they're restricting their sodium to the point where they're having to take supplements for that too, the heart pills and stuff. And so we're trying to the big four for kidney disease is bananas and tomatoes and potatoes and oranges. And if we can either cut those out or just have a half a cup at a time, your blood can handle it. So the question again was about the 4 things that are high in potassium. Potassium is hard for your kidneys to let go of. So the blood ends up holding a lot of potassium and sodium. And the 4 big things we have to stay away from if you have kidney disease is the tomatoes and potatoes, and the bananas and the oranges. Bananas and oranges, potatoes and tomatoes. And again, a half a cup is about 400 milligrams, and your body can still take 800 milligrams a meal. But don't push it and have a whole cup of tomatoes, like tomato sauce, again, maybe a quarter cup. But if you add peppers and onions and mushrooms, then that half a cup of tomato sauce is half vegetables. So that's even better for you. So somebody said, don't have broccoli or Brussels or Swiss chard. A whole cup of broccoli was maybe 350 milligrams. That's perfectly fine. And we're looking at, 500, 800 is where we want to string it back. But again, the big thing with kidney disease, they're finding drink plenty of water, what you need. If you want to drink like 20 or 30 ounces over, that's fine, but don't do double. Like somebody who needed 60 ounces, I was talking with this woman, she actually survived COVID with kidney disease. And she came out of the hospital. I think your glomerular filtration rate should be between, young kids is about 90 to 100, 90 to 120. Normal people are between, 80 and 90, 70 and 90, something like that. Stage 3 is 30 and above, so 30. And then when you're below 30, you're stage 4, so like 29. She was at 14 when she was in the hospital, and she got up to, last time I talked was 28. So she's almost into the stage 3, which is no diet restrictions or anything. But she had been hovering at 14 to 18 for like 2 months by drinking a gallon of water. Once we brought her into drinking only 60 or 80 ounces, then her numbers came up. So that's really interesting, because they're telling everybody, drink as much water as you can. We're finding, no, that's not the case. But this is about diabetes. So sorry about this. High blood sugar, low blood sugar. Complications, again, that sugar molecule is huge. It can't, by osmosis, go from the bloodstream to the cells. So we have to have those insulin receptors, or those chutes when you're out of breath, insulin goes in there, opens the door, then the sugar can get into the cells. And if it is in these capillaries, right where your nerves are and things, the sugar just busts through and it breaks that capillary, and then those nerves can't get the nutrition that it needs, and then they often die. So people who lose their feeling in their feet and that of thing, or their fingertips are really tingling. It can happen peripherally, their vision, their fingers or toes. It can be inside, like their stomach, digest really slowly. They have gastroparesis called, and they have to have more liquids with their food, chew it up really fine, small meals, so that it will get out of their stomach. Otherwise, it just sits there all day. So these are long-term complications of having high blood sugar, that nerve damage. And honestly, like a little story, if your feet are kind of numb and you accidentally, I don't know, step on something and you get a little cut, bacteria wants to get in there. And what does bacteria love? Sugar. And what is in your bloodstream? Sugar. So the bacteria is like, woo! And then all the capillaries that could get the white blood cells are broken. So the white blood cells can't fight that infection as fast. And you often don't even realize it hurts. So there's this whole chain reaction. And if we can keep your blood sugar, in the morning between 80 and 140 before you go to bed, again, you don't want to go to bed at 200, keep it under 120 would be wonderful, but still above 100, that'd be great. The biggest thing with diabetes is heart attack and stroke, kidney disease, eye complications, sexual dysfunction. That's really important for men. So if your guy is eating a lot of candy and bread, let's get them back onto the vegetable track and get away from the artificial sweeteners. I had a new patient again, and actually another guy. These are very addicting, and they numb our tongue. So then when we have broccoli, it tastes bitter. Or we have cabbage, it tastes like rubber. It just doesn't make vegetables taste as good. So if there's any way we can cut the artificial sugar out of our diets and just have more things with a richer flavor, again, the barley, the quinoa, the brown rice, the whole grain oats, old-fashioned oats. These are going to be whole grains. It gives lots of nutrition. If you want to have them in dinner with roasted vegetables, oh, that's wonderful. You want to have them in vegetable soup, that's great. Oats go great with oatmeal. Oatmeal's great, but with granola, there's a lot of different recipes. Contact me. I have a really good recipe. It's one aisle in Trader Joe's, and everybody loves it. And I actually got a new patient because of that granola recipe. My patient made it and she gave it to her sister, and he goes, "Oh, I love this. Can you get me some more? Can you get me some more?" She goes, "Just talk to Kirsten. She'll give you the thing." And I talked to her, and she's just doing great. I love it. So long-term complications, nerve damage, foot complications, skin complications, depression, gum disease. Depression is a big one. So with blocked nerve damage, you don't get the dopamine that you would normally get. So this is something, if you find yourself pulling away from people, it's not so much you're sad, it's more like you just can't take people. But unfortunately, right now, we can't take people. We're not supposed to take people. So how can you just always think that what I've been living my life as, and what I tell my patients, think that you do have depression, that you have some mental illness, and live your life so that you don't, at least until next summer when we're going to be back to normal. I hope I didn't jinx it, but get yourself some flowers every week from the flower. Enjoy food once a week that you somebody told you can't have it anymore. No, if it's dark chocolate, if it's a cupcake, something that brings you joy, call your friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Just keep things being social, being active, seeing the sunlight. Of course, plants. That really brings, there's not a single plant in here, but even out there, it's kind of, well, there's some pine trees, but being out in nature really helps us boost our mood, and we need to remember that. And whether you have diabetes or not, depression is really, it's a trap. We have to think about it as a trap, and we have to think positively. So when you wake up in the morning, open all the shades, bring all the light in. That also helps your digestion. Your digestion works better in the sunlight when you're moving around. When it's time to go to bed, well, it's dark at 4:50 now, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, skin complications, again, if you do get a scratch, like I actually have a scratch here, I should have put a Band-Aid on it. It heals faster when it's wet. So a little bit of Vaseline and a Band-Aid, that's good. A little soap and water, and then the Band-Aid, that's a good thing. Okay, the natural course of diabetes, they have that here. Can you see that sign there? It basically says you start with the oral medications like metformin, you get into the more complex medications like Jardiance and things, then you go to insulin. It says go for your goal, and they're basically showing a man with a cane. This is not the natural course. And then it might as well show the one in the wheelchair with no feet. That is not the natural course. This is an old thing. This is an old thing from 2014. That is not that long ago. So we have learned a lot about this. So if you're on oral medications and it's not working as much, yes, you can take them to a higher dose. Definitely you can add the fluoxin medicine. So you have the metformin, and then you have, I can't remember, is it Jardiance? It's one of those, and ends in fluoxin. Those are the kidney medicines where the kidneys will not reabsorb the sugar. So you are going to have more sugar in your urine, which is great because you'd rather have it be in the toilet than in your veins. That's what I say. And then if your blood sugar is still not being managed, you can go to Ozempic. But by managed, I mean, you're having a small amount of animal protein and having the whole grains and the vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So with breakfast, that would look like maybe some yogurt, maybe some oatmeal, maybe granola on yogurt. So that's the grains and the protein. And then I think a half a cup or a cup of blueberries. So that's how a breakfast could be. Same thing with the protein shake. If you have the protein shake is 20 grams of protein with a half a cup or a cup of blueberries, or frozen berries, whatever you like, cherries with chocolate protein, chocolate cherry shake, all these yummy things. A cup of milk, again, soy milk. If you're good and you don't have lactose intolerance, and I gotta recommend, I can't recommend cow's milk. If you really got to have it, then know that this is not something that I recommend. I would recommend either the nut milk that doesn't have any protein in it, it's just carbs because you're having protein powders in there, or do the soy milk. The cow's milk, animal protein is just not great for us. It's doable, our body can deal with it, but if you want to optimize your health, try to reduce how much dairy you're having, and as I just had mentioned, yogurt. But another thing, I have tons of recipes, but you get the idea. Even for dinner, if you're going to have maybe some of that marinated baked tofu with some whole grain rice and then some stir fry vegetables, these are an idea. But you don't want the big plate of meat with a couple little decorative vegetables. You want to have mostly vegetables with a little flavoring from the meat. The vegetables are going to have lots of protein, and we don't need what we thought we needed. I think I saw some of you guys maybe 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, we need like 0.8 per kilogram, 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram body fat. And that is not the case. Now we're finding people are making muscle with 0.37 or 0.4 grams per kilogram, 0.6 grams per kilogram. So we just want to make muscle. We want to include some protein in our diets, and there is a lot in vegetables. Okay, so that's what I meant by managing your diabetes with diet versus increasing your medication all the time. And exercise is a really big thing. And we thought it was just to burn the sugar out of your blood, but now we find it's to increase circulation, and circulation helps heal, including healing your pancreas and your kidneys. So again, that same woman who her GFR went up by drinking less water, it even went up higher when she was going up. She has this 3-story staircase with 2 guard handrails, and she's 87. I mean, it's really something. And she had a cane, and she was waiting for her rollerator. And we said, well, let's just put on music and go up and down the stairs for 2 songs. So it's like 5 or 6 minutes. And she did it for breakfast, lunch, and she even did it for dinner. Didn't need her cane anymore. She had lost a lot of weight. She had built her leg muscles back up. Her kidney came, it's like 29. So now this isn't like a miracle, but it's a pretty good story. And like I want to tell you, exercise does more than just burn the sugar out. It also helps you heal. So whether you have a cut or whatever you have. Yeah. So on a YouTube in April, you go to YouTube, see what the exercise. It's like yoga for 2 hours, it's pump you up, P90X, all this craziness. Not now. There's this British guy, AJ, somebody, and he does Justin Timberlake songs for people in wheelchairs. First of all, it's hilarious. I love watching it. But 2, it's like so much movement and dancing. And I know your knees bothering you, but you can still kick and stuff. And that does your abs and all these kind of things. So take a look at YouTube now, because once you click on that AJ, what is it? AJ for chair exercise, something like that. Chair dancing. He's British. He's not especially attractive, but he's really cute, and it's something to see. But then there are a whole bunch of other ones will come up, and take a look and see what you want to do. Because it is getting dark, it is getting cold. If we can be active after dinner, that makes such a difference in our health. Healthy eating, what you eat, again, having most of your meal as vegetables and berries and whole grains, a little tiny bit of the protein. What how much you eat. Again, you just want to eat enough so that you don't need to have a snack between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you can have just those 3 meals, it's great. If you can go have a big breakfast and have a big dinner with a little snack in the middle, it's better if you have a little snack for breakfast and a dinner for. Hi, Mary Angela. And it's a phone number, right? And is it the 215-2474? Okay. Yay. So remember that number and yeah, register for Zoom. Yeah, that would be great. Let's see. And then when you eat, again, having a little bit in the morning is really important. If our body doesn't have something to eat, after about 2 hours, it gets stressed and it raises your blood sugar. So have something, even if it's just a handful of blueberries, a little bit of walnuts or something, that makes a big difference in your blood sugar for the rest of the day. And then have your big meal like you were going to do at 12 o'clock. Or some people have, they wake up at 6, but they really don't eat anything until 11. If you can just get a little bit of berries and nuts in the morning, that the berries and nuts is all the food groups. Again, we're talking about diabetes, but this page here does not talk about the different classes of medicines, but the different classes of food is the carbohydrates and the fiber, that's the plants, and the proteins and the fats, that's going to be the proteins. So whether it's chicken or peanuts, there's a little bit of fat with it, and whether it's berries or lettuce, it's going to have carbohydrates and fiber with it. So that's the idea of the berries and the nuts in the morning. Then we have keeping active, sit less, move more. There's a Nextdoor. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a website and people can write in about the area. People from Lafayette Hill. I don't know if Chestnut Hill is in the group, but you must have one too. But somebody was asking about, oh, my legs are sore. What kind of chair should I get? And it was probably 10 different people saying, look at a stand-up desk, get a bar stool and a counter. Get off of your butt. Sometimes you want to sit and sometimes you want to stand. And a bar stool and a counter, you do as you feel. If you end up sitting on the bar stool all day, that's great. Other days you may not have noticed and you were doing Facebook or computer work and you've been standing for 4 hours. Your feet might tell you later, but the standing and the sitting is better. The thigh bone and the hip bone are connected by a teeny little bone. And the more you push on a bone, the more the bone builds. So if you are standing for a couple hours a day, that builds that tiny little bone. So when people break their hip, that's usually the bone that they break, not the big plate or the thigh bone. So yeah, a little bit of standing. I know it's sitting is a new standing, or sitting is a new smoking. That's all I'm saying. So try to stand as much as you can. And then what is insulin? Again, insulin is a special hormone that opens those insulin receptors so that the sugar can leave the bloodstream and get into the cells. And the insulin receptors are on cells. So the more you move around, the more insulin receptors come to the surface of those cells. So then when insulin comes, the insulin can open a whole lot more doors than just the one. When you wake up in the morning, you only have one. You haven't been moving around, maybe two. Insulin is a hormone made by the beta cells of the pancreas. The beta cells release insulin to help the body use or store glucose from the blood. And the body stores glucose in our muscles, in our liver, in our fat. So some people who are having like bariatric surgery and they lose weight really fast, not only do they have more calories than they would expect because the way their body is structured now, but they also get a lot more of the oil-based vitamins. So vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, K. So if they are on a multivitamin and they're losing this much fat, it could be an excess of those vitamins. So what else do we have on here? Checking for problems. You just keep in touch with your eye doctor, with your doctors. So the dentist is every 6 months, eye doctors once a year. Your regular doctor, the endocrinologist, if you have one of those, and your dermatologist once a year. What else? And if anything happens, your foot feels funny, go to the podiatrist. If your tooth feels funny, the big thing is whether you have a big piece of chocolate cake, you have a toothache, you break your leg, you're in the hospital, your blood sugar is elevated. So if you have a toothache or if you are vomiting and you have, hopefully you don't get the flu or anything like that, keep trying to take your medicine. Whatever medicines you're on, take it like you normally do, because that helps bring the sugar down, and try to drink as much water as you can. If you can drink a half a cup every hour, that's great. If you can drink a cup, but the water helps wash the extra sugar out of your bloodstream. Yeah, try to drink a half a cup of water when you're not feeling well. And same thing if you have a toothache. Don't be dehydrated if you have a toothache. That's just going to concentrate the sugars in your blood. So drink as much water. If you're ever every time you do a blood test, try to drink a 16-ounce bottle before the blood test. One, your blood will come out a lot faster, but then they can see things better and your sodium won't be elevated. Because a lot of people, oh, I'm not supposed to have anything. They give blood, they're a little dehydrated. And how do we tell that in your bloodstream? Your sodium is above 144. I'm like, oh, you're dehydrated. They don't say that. They say, yeah, a big bottle, like have it sloshing around. And when you go to the doctor and say you didn't drink that water, your sodium was elevated. Maybe it's 43 or 44, 45, 145. The doctor will say, oh, you're having too much sodium in your diet. No, you're not. You're just dehydrated. So just call your doctor and find out, if anything feels funny, and have them check it out. Because a lot of times we can do it through a phone call. And I don't think that's as expensive as an office visit with copays and stuff. I don't know. And check it. Some of them, when I first started, Medicare only paid me half, but by May they were paying me full. That was pretty scary. I was like, my biller was like, I don't think you should see any people if I'm getting $1. You're not getting it. So no. Let's see what else is on here. Well, they have resources. This is what I was telling you. If your medication, if something happens with your insurance and your medication is too expensive, you can always talk to the manufacturer of that medicine, and maybe they can give you a coupon or cover you for a year, $10 a month, something like that. Your support network, that's usually your medical team, and then your healthcare. Oh, I guess your support team is everybody comes to these classes. Anybody, I don't know if you have any healthcare buddies that you see, or just checking up on your girlfriends or whatever, who's checking up on you. Whether it's now, if it's an annoying girlfriend, says, "Oh, you can't have this and you can't have that," have her talk to me. Give her my card and say, "Hey, the research says that yes, if you have diabetes or you don't, the artificial sugar is bad for us. It hurts our gut biome." And we need to be active. And whether you have diabetes, the best thing for people who have diabetes is the most optimal diet. Like whatever the Olympians are doing, that's what we all should be doing. That is the best. Let's see. I guess the big thing is, check your feet, check your eyes. If you're not seeing something right, see the doctor. If there's any, just monitor your body's health. And if you see something that isn't right, call somebody, call whatever medical profession it is. Because it's probably nothing, but it's worth the copay to find out that it's nothing compared to worrying about it. Because then when you worry, what happens to your blood sugar? It goes up. So, I have some news. I have so many. I don't, with the Zoom, I don't think we can read them, and I don't think you want my pages. Okay, study examines how lifestyle behaviors affect mortality. There's a study now shown with 200,000 people that, yes, people who exercise and eat a balanced diet with plenty of vegetables and drink enough water, get enough sleep, reduce their stress, a healthy lifestyle, they have in 10-year study, they're had a lower risk of death. Does it say a percentage? No, it was United Press Health Day News. So there has been a study. It isn't just the doctors saying, hey, have a healthy diet and you'll do better. No, now they're showing that in over 10 years, 200,000 people, the people who were doing it made a big difference. Experts rank the Thanksgiving sides for nutrition. Brussels sprouts are high in vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin K. Vitamin K helps us build muscle and make scabs. They are the most healthful, Brussels sprouts. The side dish, Thanksgiving side dish is followed by butternut squash is good. Green bean casserole is good. The sweet potato casserole, it has lots of fiber and beta carotene and vitamins, but the sugar is the downfall on that. So if we can make it with less brown sugar and marshmallows and things, that is the most helpful. My sister-in-law makes it It is basically sugar and marshmallows with a little bit of sweet potato. So if that's going to be a dessert, treat it like a dessert. It's going to be a carb. Let's see. Oh, experts suggest foods with potential mental health benefits. Studies have found that eating foods like blueberries, carrots, dark chocolate, walnuts, whole grains, they have effect on mental well-being. The walnuts were associated with reduced depression in 2019 study, while other research found that fermented foods such as kimchi helped with reducing social anxiety. I've never heard kimchi makes you more popular. That's very interesting. That was the Atlanta Journal. Um, People with type 1 diabetes, they have to watch their sugar too. It isn't just give them insulin and let them go. But they found the daily physical activity assessed by off-the-shelf activity tracker, pedometer or something, was linked with glycemic exposure after an evening meal, reduced glycemic, and making it a potentially helpful factor in mealtime treatment decisions. This is basically talking about moving around more, gives you more insulin receptors, or opens that chute to get the sugar out of your veins and into your muscles. So yeah, and this even works with type 1, because a lot of type 1s, I gotta admit, they have a high carb diet and they're lazy, and their blood sugars are fine because they pump up their insulin. So that is a tough way to live. I would rather you move around, obviously. And they said that, yeah, even type 1s, if they move around, they don't need as much insulin. There's a RD that explains the difference link between the fiber and the heart health. Registered dietitian Carrie Dennett, citing a presentation by RD Joan Slavin. Anyway, these RDs writes that adequate daily fiber intake can help reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, as the foods that contain them are also rich in nutrients with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So even though you're having prunes because of the fiber, the prunes also have an enzyme to make your bones strong. So they reduce inflammation, and they have nutrition, and it's all kinds of great things for your heart health. To increase fiber intake, pick more sources of plant protein over animal protein. So that would be beans and nuts and seeds versus steak and chicken and pork. And eat more whole grain foods, and add a vegetable or fruit to every meal and snack. So if you're going to have the pretzels, try to have some, whatever you want with it, maybe raisins, maybe blueberries, maybe peanut butter, that kind of thing. And that was from the Seattle Times. I think Mediterranean diet has anti-inflammatory effects. Do you guys know why? Because the grains are whole, it's mostly vegetables, and there's limited animal protein in it. Again, this is a really healthy diet. A Mediterranean diet, you've seen this, they'll have a little bit of salmon, and then they'll have all these vegetables and grains and things like that, fruits. Pro-inflammatory diet may increase cardiovascular disease risk. That makes sense. If you're eating donuts and cake all day, yeah, your heart may not be doing well later. Artificially sweetened drinks may raise a cardiovascular risk. A study in the Journal of American College of Cardiology linked both sugar-sweetened and artificially sweetened beverages to higher cardiovascular risk when comparing consumers to non-consumers. So the people who were drinking artificial sweeteners were having more cardiac problems than the people who were drinking sweetened beverages, with sugar. That's interesting. What was it? Between beverages, people who consumed the beverages less frequency, they still had CV risks. So you really got to cut it out. And it's tough. I have so many people who said, no, I haven't had it. Well, now I'm having it once a week. Okay, now I'm just having the 3 diet ginger ales, and that's all I'm having. I'm like, no, or they will have only 1 diet tea, but then they put Splenda in their oatmeal, and they put sweet and low in their drinks, and it's like, that's 3. You gotta get down to 1 or none. Well, now they say none. Even it's good for your heart. So B12, this is the vitamin B that goes under your tongue. The optimal vitamin B12 dosage for kids, pregnancy, and seniors. They're the ones that need it more than the middle-aged people, I guess. People under age 25 and over 50, regardless of diet. So people who eat animals and people who are a vegan diet, they both should start supplementing with B12 fortified foods or supplements. It looks like 50 micrograms a day if you're eating animals, and 1,000 micrograms a week if you are vegan. And actually, I've seen something else that can be 2,000 micrograms a week, and it even can be twice a week. There is no upper limit for vitamin B12 because we can hardly absorb it.
Well, where are we getting that B12 from?
In real life, dirt. In real life is dirt. So back when our grandparents, and they take things out of the field and they wash the potatoes a little bit and then they eat the whole thing. Yeah, they got plenty of B12. Same thing with the animals. Milking the cows, you get a little dirt in there. Cutting the animal open in the slaughterhouse, yeah, you get a little dirt in there. Dirt has B12. It sounds crazy, but now everything is super sterile, super clean. Your lettuce is washed 3 times. No chance of dirt. So we have to eat B12, and it's not in our GI tract. It has to be through our blood vessels. Some people will have a spray up the nose. My father did that for a while. No, I'm not doing that. The other people go to the doctor and they get a shot in their leg once a month. And then other people, they've really improved the pill. And it's delightful. A little pink thing goes under your tongue. It really does dissolve within like 2 or 3 minutes. And if it doesn't, big deal, chew it, because you definitely got it in those 2 or 3 minutes under your tongue. It's just like a little sweet treat. I think it has 10 calories or something, but yeah, if you want to do 1,000 milligrams a week, with having chicken and fish in your diet, you should be fine. If you're going to go to a vegan diet, you might need more like 2,000 once a week or twice a week, depending on how your diet is. Or if you're a bigger person, or if you are eating things out of the garden, clipping your, herbs and things. We can't do herbs anymore. They got frozen last night. Now they're getting frozen again. So, and the herbs you buy in the store are hydroponic. There's no dirt. It's water. Yeah. So think about, and it shouldn't be expensive. I get Nature's Bounty, like $3 for a bottle of 60. And, we're only taking it once a week. Actually, I got a 5,000 and microgram bottle. Now I know I don't need to do that, just 2,000. But yeah, it was like $3. And online is cheaper than in the stores always. So if you're getting something online, take a look at the B12. And I have not seen a bad one. I don't want it to be expensive. Let's see, what else do I have to talk about? Behavior, linked with, all of this is common sense. Lifestyle habits can promote bone health. Yeah, if you're going to be active, you're going to have stronger bones. Cardiometabolic health, your heart health is linked to dietary patterns. Yeah, we know that. We want to not have so much saturated fat. We want to move around. Metastatic CRC, is that breast cancer? Survival is not linked to diet pattern. Well, do we care about cancer? Try to stay away from the processed foods and get lots of exercise. If you can go up, I don't know where we can find 50 steps at this point, but if you're ever in a building that has 50 steps and you can go the 50 steps in 50 seconds, it shows that you are at half compared to the rest of the population, your risk for cancer is cut by half, and your heart disease is cut by a third. So that's just a test. But the more we move around, the more the circulation helps, and your circulation is going to find if there's a cell that is weird, has the wrong DNA, and your body with vitamin D can either get rid of that cell or fix it. So make sure your vitamin D level is good. If you want to take 1,000 IUs every day, that's a good thing in the winter. But vitamin D will help with that also. Having some soy milk, believe it or not, now they're on the verge of calling that anti-cancer. But you know what the biggest anti-cancer is? Vegetables. So have more vegetables and you'll be in good shape. Exercise is crucial to long-term weight management. I mean, these articles. Okay, RD shares food suggestions based on the Mediterranean diet. Nutrition experts like a Mediterranean diets, Mediterranean style diet, which focuses on plant-based foods and seafood rich in omega-3 fatty acids and includes fewer processed foods. Registered dietitian Miller recommends the Mediterranean diet to include lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, dairy, eggs, poultry eaten in moderation, and red meat and sweets consumed sparingly. So yeah, the Mediterranean diet and the plant-based diet, I call them about the same. Plant-based is not vegan. So a lot of people are, oh, I'm on a plant-based diet. Well, are you vegan or are you plant-based? Because a lot of them, and pescatarian, they'll have fish a few times a week. High green tea or coffee intake lowers the death risk in type 2 diabetes. I missed that one. That's really, I should have started with that one. Okay, so a study in the BMG Open Diabetes Research and Care Foundation found that drinking 4 or more cups of green tea every day. A cup is only 6 ounces, so we're talking at like 12-ounce glasses of green tea. Oh my goodness, that is a lot. Drinking 4 or more cups of green tea every day lowers the odds of death by 40% among patients with type 2 diabetes, while 2 or more cups of coffee every day lowers the odds by 41%. But you were looking at, 24 ounces compared to patients who don't drink any tea or coffee. The findings are based on 5,000 people in Japan with type 2 diabetes. Also revealed that 4 or more cups of green tea along with 2 or more cups of coffee every day reduce the risk. So you're drinking both the coffee and the tea, or reduces by 63%. That's a lot. That was from the Med Page Today. There's white tea. So the tea is, there's some varieties, but generally black tea and white tea and then green tea. So green tea is the babiest. As the baby leaves, they're still green and tender, and they dry them. It has enzymes in them, and it helps us balance our bodies. White tea, which is made from tea leaves that have been harvested early, so it's not the baby teas. It's like they're still green, as opposed to the mature leaves that are almost black. The white tea is harvested early, has slightly lower caffeine content than green tea and black tea. They can contain antioxidants that are helpful for fighting inflammation and certain neurodegenerative diseases. So it helps your brain. Says registered dietitian Kelly Jones. While tea's manganese content also makes it beneficial for bone health, it may help with controlling blood glucose levels and could reduce the risk of some types of cancer as well. So maybe we should look at the coffee and the tea a little bit more, whether it's white tea, green tea, or black coffee. Black coffee is not that great. Unless you're going to grind the beans and add, all condensed almond milk is a really great creamer because it doesn't have a lot of chemicals in it. But if you're trying to stay away from dairy. Flavanol intakes lowers the blood pressure. This is like hibiscus tea, things with a lot of color, beets and that kind of thing. Know your oils for healthy cooking, any kind of oil that comes from something that you eat, like avocado and walnuts and olives. But I don't know what a canola is. I certainly don't eat that. Vegetable is like vegetation. Watch out for that. Think about, having more olive oil, and, you can get it cheap. The clear one can take the heat, and the green one is good for salads. If you take the green one and you try to make pancakes with it, one, your pancakes taste like olives, yuck. And two, it's going to get really smoky fast. So take a look at the refined olive oil. And the biggest thing is the one from plants, coconut oil. That is super saturated. So I would stay away from it. Once a week with a special Indian dish or something, a Thai dish, that's not a big deal, but you don't want to have that every day. That covers all the important things that are, unique, not some common sense stuff. Is there any other questions today? It is 1 o'clock, so I'm so glad you all came. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Have more of the vegetables, less of the turkey. Enjoy, and we're all going to have this turkey forever. We're going to have a lot of leftovers, and I appreciate you guys all being smart with your masks. And I'm going to miss you, but we'll see what happens in the middle of January. And I'm going to try to do this in December. The beginning of December, I'll do for a couple of weeks, and we'll see what happens. But